That is so funny. Yeah, thank you for letting me speak to you. Yeah, it's my pleasure to
Okay,
come on board.
awesome. Thank you so very much. What an honor. And Kevin Daniel Moore, for those who don't know, I'll give a brief uh, description here, like a bio. He was born in Slough, United Kingdom, on July 22nd, 1978, a graduate from Beechwood High School. In 1997 to 1999, studied City and Guilds Electronics at Lincoln and graduated from the University of South Wales in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in television. He worked at the 80s Love Radio, Cardiff 98.7 FM. In 2018, he left good old Britain for Almere in the Netherlands. From there, in 2019, arriving to the United States of America in Eudora, Kansas in 2020, Wisconsin, and in October 2008, whilst at University, Kevin Moore started his own online talk show, The Kevin Moore Show. And for 14 years, he has committed and continued to be the host of The Kevin Moore Show. And he interviews people and philosophers, the paranormal, researchers, life coaches, and spiritual teachers. In January 2015, Kevin opened himself up to his own intuitive abilities through channeling. Afterwards, he was drawn to provide a platform that would allow others to access their greatest potential with some of the best spiritual advisors. And in 2019, he formed the platform channeling.com, a place for the best international psychic readings and channelers across the world, many of whom were met on his journey while filming his first docu-series in 2017. They call us channelers. Throughout the years, Kevin has interviewed past life regression therapist Dolores Cannon, founder of the Quantum Healing Hypnosis Academy, and providing a platform from which some of the greatest philosophers, paranormal researchers, such as George Noory, Contact in the Desert, I know him from, and Alan Steinfeld, Daryl Anka, Bashar, right? And Wendy Kennedy, the ninth Palladians. This is how I actually met Kevin through, and many others from the Palladian Collective, like Nora Harold and other life coaches, spiritual teachers, are observationalists and authors alike. Kevin Daniel Moore, here with us today, welcomes these possibilities that we all question, such as how to use our own innate abilities and what for and or when we should be using these abilities and how to enhance on these abilities that we all have as biological mechanisms receiving and transmitting. Yes, we're very radiant in our own radiance. And so here with us today to have a friendly heart-to-heart conversation. Anything goes. It's spontaneous. Here we go. Open to channeling and refreshing updates with Kevin Daniel Moore.
That was a lovely intro. Thank you. By the way, no, I've never interviewed George Norrie, so just want to state that. Yeah, there's a thought. Yeah. I've met him before, years and years ago. But
Well,
host
I
of
was
Coast to Coast.
intrigued. Yeah, I was intrigued with Contact in the Desert. If you're familiar with it in Palm Springs, California, I was off and ready to go in 2019. And I don't know, for some reason, I decided to bail out, and I just went with my intuition, but I was all gung ho and everything. And I don't know, I just last minute decided. And I don't know if you're familiar with Contact in the Desert. They deal with a lot of
Oh
paranormal.
yeah, yeah. I went there in 2018. So yeah, yeah. I met quite a few people there. Met quite a few people backstage. Um, got to mingle. Done a few interviews there. Actually, I think thinking about it, it was at that conference that the idea for my next docu-series, which I'm working on now, was formed actually, because I had just interviewed a lady called Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot. So I was hanging around in Los Angeles, and I'd ended up driving over to Palm Springs, and I remember Palm Springs. It was so warm. Oh my God, it was such a. I mean, that was like being in an oven. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it was so warm, but it was the peak of the summer, and it was there that yeah, that not only did I get to sort of destiny met with a phone call from someone who had seen my interview with Kerry Cassidy and told me what a you know what that it wasn't true what she was talking about in parts of the interview, but yeah, I got to meet David Wilcock there. I got to meet a few people there actually. Yeah.
Well, is that where you met Alan Steinfeld?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Alan Steinfeld. Actually, I didn't think too much of David Wilcock. Actually, I thought he was a bit egotistic. Actually, but yeah, I got to meet Alan Steinfeld. I got to meet a lot of good people there. Actually, so one day I'll go back. Well, I think they did last year's version online. I think.
And so, before we get started on more things like this, I'd like to know what kind of upbringing you had. Like your mother, your father, did you have siblings? How did they influence and impact your life to bring you to where you are today?
Um, yeah, I had a kind of normal upbringing, I would say. Um, uh, older older sister, younger brother, so I was the middle child. My father was into, I believe he was into the spiritual subjects. I remember his books on Edgar Cayce used to be lied around sometimes. I remember seeing them and thinking, well, they look terrible. I don't think I'll be bothered reading those. Do you know what I mean? They look so boring. And but my dad was always into spirituality at one point, big time actually. Um, yeah, just I mean, we didn't grow up with much money, to be honest with you. Grew up pretty poor, um, but um, but yeah, I mean, I was just a normal childhood, basically. Yeah, I mean, I hated school, couldn't stand school. Was so glad when I was away from school. I didn't do very well at school actually. I mean, my marks were just terrible. I just did not want to be there. I didn't enjoy my. I just yeah, I hated it actually. And then I got the chance to do some work experience with a electronic servicing company, and I believe yeah, that's right. I ended when school was over. I ended up getting a full-time job with them, and then I ended up going to college as an apprenticeship. I guess you called it back in the day. I guess they still do that now, and an apprenticeship in electronic servicing. So life couldn't have been more opposite. Do you know what I mean, to what it is now? Um, and then that was while we were living in Slough, and did have a strange UFO experience in Slough with the whole family. The whole family had this. We had this UFO sighting, and that was always an amazing experience. We do try to talk about it when we can do, but none of us can really explain what we saw. So, but I've done. I think I've done like a vlog on it once, but I would like to definitely dive into that one day. But yeah, yeah, that was an incredible experience actually. And did that jog my wanting to do this subject? I don't, not consciously. No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. And then from Slough, I ended up moving to up north in the UK, to a place called Grimsby, and spent many years there, and going to college, again doing more electronic servicing, and then eventually, at some point, I think it was around 1999, deciding to go self-employed when the company I was working for went bust. And I just, decided that was my point where I was going to do something completely different. So I did.
Wow. That's amazing. A certain information that not everybody knows about you in the celebration of life as we're still living it, not after we've passed on and then let's have a celebration of life. And this is one of my main inspirations to why I got into this, and also to get to know people on a friendly basis, whereas you can't really do that on social media unless you start talking to people like this.
Sure, sure, yeah, 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 yeah. I look back at those times in my life with that they were happy times.
And so,
They were happy
you know,
times.
uh, one thing I did miss that I noticed now is at one point you had your talk show or your YouTube channel or TV, more talk show TV. Is this when you partnered up with Dolores Cannon?
So more talk was something I came up with when I was I had been doing a TV talk show on Sky TV on a back channel on Sky TV. It's one of the higher channels, and that was coming to an end because the university that I was with wasn't going to support us filming there anymore, right? So I thought to myself, how am I going to continue doing, the talk show that I've done on TV? How could I, where could I, what format could I continue doing that in? And I came up with the idea of like, well, why don't we just do a radio on TV type of show? So it's broadcast live on radio, but we film it for TV as well. So I'd raised some money and through an Indiegogo campaign, and we used that to buy the equipment that we needed to convert a radio studio that was based with a local radio station in Cardiff at the time called Radio Cardiff, and they allowed us to convert one of their studios to for them to use our equipment as well when we weren't there, and for us to do a late night talk show there, but to be able to film it as well. So it was a sort of combination with the radio station and myself privately coming together. And I also had these wacky ideas of, broadcasting 24/7 with our own TV channel and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, had I done it differently now, I would have just in the home that I had, I would have just converted a whole room over to my own studio and just done it away from anyone else, and to be able to control the environment. I should have listened to my partner at the time, because she was like, just do it from home, and I don't know why I didn't listen to her, and I should have done. Do you know what I mean? She did know best at that point, and yeah, it just. It was just a nightmare, because having to leave the radio station, we had to like rip all the stuff out, and the wiring was just crazy. Do you know what I mean? And the construction of it all, it was just yeah. If you knew better, you'd do better, but you think you know better at the time, and you don't. So
It's so much easier now the way, and we're doing it exactly like how you're saying. Podcast, radio platforms, distributions, as well as video and channels and other social medias.
yeah,
We're
well,
doing
there's
it
just so many
exactly.
people doing it now, isn't there? How do you stand out? How can you build an audience? This when I started back, just even back in 20, when was it? 2011, 2012, 2011. There wasn't that as many people doing the same types of talk shows on this subject. There's just so many now, and the market's completely flooded. And yeah, it's not what I don't know. I'm more right now. Much more into the business side of it. That I enjoy that a lot more as well. And um, yeah, I want change. I'm desperate for change. Well, no, change is already happening. But I would have I'm going to have my own network, which we can talk about. But you've got to be doing something different, because if you want to make this work and flourish, you can't compete with everyone doing the same thing. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you can.
So,
You've got to have a niche.
Okay, so let's get back to this. You were partnered up. Was it Joanna So Hui Hyun? Was that who you were partnered
Yeah,
up with?
yeah, yeah. Me and Joanna, yeah, yeah. Joanna's a big YouTuber in Malaysia. She's like, God, I don't know, she's probably about 2 million subscribers right now or more. Maybe I've not checked it actually, but I would have thought it's getting onto that figure. And yeah, she's Malaysia's largest fitness YouTuber. So when I was living with her in Cardiff, this was when I was doing we met at university, and yeah, we decided to work together because we was both in our final year, and she was like, she had done TV work before, so it just made sense to sort of partner up, and we ended up being boyfriend and girlfriend in the end. So we ended up being partners. So yeah, we lived together for a number of years, and then eventually she did decide to move back, which I can't blame her, to Malaysia, because she felt that where she needed to be for her growth, for her channel growth as well, was definitely in Malaysia. She made exactly the right decision because she became Malaysia's top fitness person or personality online. So hats off to her for doing that. And we've kind of kept it a little bit in contact. And whenever we do speak, it's always really nice. Just excited about what we're up to and stuff. But it's very rare that we it's been a while since I spoke to her because so much has happened in our lives, I guess, and we've both been busy. So yeah.
So what's your next move? Are you planning to go back? I mean, are you planning to go there or to Asia or anything like that, or connect or with her, or what is
No,
the plan?
well, if I was in Malaysia, maybe I maybe would give her a text just to see if she wanted to meet up for a coffee. But my plans are to get my green card right now. That's my plans. I can't even leave the US right now. Well, I've got permission to leave, but I'm not going to use it because there's too many stipulations in there. If I it says on this on my application that if I leave, yes, you can, but Border Patrol have more power than USCIS have, which are USCIS are the immigration department for the American government, and they may not let you back in, but USCIS would. And I'm like, well, what's the point? Why did I apply for this application if I can't even if it's got that in there? So I was like, I'm not leaving. There's no point because I've gone so far with my green card application right now that I've just I was awarded the rights to stay here until they give me a decision, and I've just got to wait for that decision. So with the current state of things right now, that could be up to 3 years. So I've decided in this month, January 2022, just to get on with my life. I can't work. When you go through immigration, you can't work for anyone. You can't get a part-time job. All you can do is work for yourself. So I'm just going to get on with my life and live my life as though they're not even there right now, because it just doesn't matter anymore. I mean, I was going to wait in Wisconsin, where I'm based right now, wait around to just see through the green card. But if it's almost 3 years, there's just no point. You can't speak to these people neither. You don't. There's just I was pro se with my immigration, so I did it all myself, which is why last year was a complete write-off, because 2021 for me was just a terrible year, really, which I'm guessing for some people it was. Yeah. It took me ages to go pro se and pro se is when you do it yourself, but pro se for my immigration, pro se for my divorce, and I went pro se for my bankruptcy as well, which my bankruptcy is just about to go live in the UK because I'm going bankrupt in the UK. Yeah, it's just been a fantastic year. But you know what? I this year the energy for 2022 is completely different. I'll say that. I don't know if you've noticed that at all, but it has been for me. It's just been go 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 go. It's just been a crazy good start to the year so far. So
Oh yes, especially for me is if you really like where you are and you're not really planning on moving or going anywhere, and you just like being here in the present moment. That's when you're gonna feel the force even more, wanting to sweep you off your feet and take you somewhere else. It's like,
yeah,
oh, you.
well, maybe, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's just my time, like it is for some people. It's their time. Sometimes it's what's on their it's what's in their charts as well, I think.
I believe everything unfolds in perfect timing, synchronistically, especially if you're aligned with your energy fields. And the only thing is that, our mind says, well, no, I'm nostalgic. I want to stay here. I put a lot of work into this place. I haven't even finished unpacking. And all of a sudden, it's like, no, you're forced to make a decision. And if you don't, it's best that you do it yourself, and you're the director rather than be the victim, right? And so I believe that if you're happy with where you are, and the force will come and sweep you off your feet, or you can resist it, right? And resistance is futile, right? And so you either kind of direct the flow in the way you want it to go, or I don't know what's going on with me, but this is my advice right now, what's going on. And I feel partly to blame when things happen. And like as channelers, we predict things, or we think, oh, we're doing this, or it's doing it for, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but this is what leadership is all about. You kind of have to direct the flow. It's not like you're really in control of it, but you're directing in the way you prefer it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that site channeling.com in the intro. That took me many, many years just of it sat there really to try to push that forward and to have my own readers platform. The idea, when I got channeling.com, it was in the height of doing the channeling docuseries, which I started in November 2017. And I've currently released about 90-something episodes in that docuseries. And only this year, the beginning of this year, have I got channeling.com to a point where I'm happy to launch it. It has taken so long to get that one website built. Like I say, last year was a complete write-off, so I never really got much chance to do much with it. But now I've just now got the site working. So what channeling.com is going to be is a reader's platform. So you'll be able to, there'll be 24/7, available different type of spiritual advisors on that platform. And it's also going to be a go-to resource for anything to do with channeling. Now, that side of it has not been built yet. I'm about to start building that side out soon. So I really, I've always wanted it to be a resource for channeling because, it's called channeling.com. So it should really be. So I'm really excited from a business perspective to launch that side. More excited for to see it through and to make it work, and to do all the things that it takes for a business to be up and running. So yeah, I can't wait to get my business teeth back out and start pushing that at some point. There's a few more things. Well, yeah. I'm going to build it out and scale it up, basically. So that was part of the reason, maybe, that if I've had any draw to go back to Asia, then it's probably to look at outsourcing my call center, outsourcing different roles that I'm going to need, and outsourcing that to maybe the Philippines. So I might be heading to the Philippines when I do get my green card, but I'm not going to wait until I get my green card. That might be potentially 3 years away. I need to launch that business soon. So I'm going to do everything remotely with the Philippines right now.
What a beautiful place. You're going to create a community in the Philippines. I would love to go to the Philippines.
I don't know about create the community. I think it's more about create a, either work with existing call centers and outsourcing companies there, or what I really like to do is create my own one. So no, it's not going to be like some sort of spiritual community. It's more of it's more of a business move.
I have to ask here there's a split here between spirituality, spiritual work, and the business side.
Absolutely, there is. I don't know why people split it. It's all the same. Why is it different?
Okay,
why has it got to be different?
Right? And yeah, so is there somehow you're going to be merging the two? Is that where you get spiritually involved as well, or you're going to be hosting other people?
Oh, you're talking about the network, the future of the network, and then versus the
Yes.
business side of things. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've got to get the network up and running first. But how would I see? Okay, so my network is going to be the ISNN, the International Spiritual News Network. But it's not just going to be news. It's going to be all things, production wise. It's going to be content as well. I see it a bit like a Gaia platform. All right, and there's more than one. There's room enough in this market for another Gaia platform, but not the kind of content where we're getting the next secret space program whistleblowers on there and not vetting them and allowing anyone just to spew a load of stuff that's not true. They've not been vetted. But I'm not. No, I'm talking about even mainstream content. I mean, what about true crime? Could you do true crime from a spiritual perspective? Yeah. Could you do mainstream content from a spiritual perspective? And why can't you do that? Why has it got to be this holier than thou, let's all dress up in white robes and start chanting stuff? No, I don't want that. I live in a shared reality, and I want it to be mainstream content that comes from a spiritual perspective. That's what I really want. So, yeah, I plan to. I've just formed the ISNN as a business over here in the US, and it's going to be the company now behind the Kevin Moore Show as a production company. It's the production company now behind They Call Us Channelers, and it's going to be the production company behind my new documentary, which is a true crime documentary, which we'll talk about in a bit. And yeah, it'll be it'll be the production company behind the if we're going to do a spiritual news output, because that was the whole thesis for the thesis for the ISNN was, it would be a news output where we look at the news from a spiritual perspective, but it will also be the production company behind that. So it's all little steps right now. Right now, all I'm doing, my focus is on the Kevin Moore Show, the channeling docuseries, and my next documentary. The ISNN as a network, to grow it, will be done or be worked on after I've got my documentary currently called Captain Mark Richards. Once that's done and dusted and out of the way, then I'll put my focus to growing channeling.com and growing the ISNM. So
you're thinking about psychic mediums type of channeling, right? Psychic mediums was your crime, or like real life?
It could
crime?
be. It could be. It could be, yeah. We could do that, or we could just look at it from like, what did the people learn spiritually that were involved in this? What did they get from it? You've spent all these years in prison. You did the murder. You did the crime. Have you learned anything from it? Is there anything have you explored any part of yourself to think, outside the box compared to where you was? Or even for the victims, right? If what have they? Is there forgiveness there? What has their spiritual journey been? Do you know what I mean? So I think that gets missed. And also, one other thing with the Kevin Moore Show, I want to do more bigger names, but from a spiritual perspective. I'm done. I'm burnt. I'm fed up. Well, I get a little bit fed up. I'm a little bit burnt out with just doing all these interviews that I've done with just people and their own spiritual journeys. I mean, great. You've had a spiritual journey, or you've done what you've done. I'm just yeah. There's just not. I'm not wanting to soak that in anymore. I've soaked in enough. Do you know what I mean? I just want to get on with life. I don't know. We go through these phases, people do, don't they, of like a spiritual awakening and stuff, right? But when you've interviewed again and again and again and again and again the same people, even in the UFO field, you just I've just felt a bit of burnout, to be honest with you, and it's just everyone's doing the same thing anyway, so I don't know how long I'd keep that going for, personally, for myself. But for other people to host shows on the network, absolutely. And maybe people that have got a bit more a drive for it than I've currently got, to be honest with you, because I just just maybe want different things as we as time goes on. So
I'm very fascinated, like with people like let's say Dolores Cannon. and how you partnered up with her and the convoluted universe, what comes to mind that's coming up right now in our world? And I don't know from what perspective you want to look at it, a multidimensional perspective, or how you want to look at it, and help me out here. The splitting of the worlds that we're experiencing from Dolores Cannon's point of view, it had to do with frequency and the raising of our vibration
That
and the
could be
earth.
so. Yeah,
And
yeah. If we're splitting, right? Do we know that we are? I don't know. I mean, if you're waking up and you're in a slightly different reality than when you went to sleep, right? You've shifted somehow. Your soul's shifted into, you know, another parallel reality, right? That looks just the same, but there's a slight difference because you are changing, you're growing, spiritually. So, or you're going down, whatever, whichever way, right? Does it? It's interesting, but I think in the height of pain and in the height of having to make life work, it's interesting to talk about. But you've still got to go out there and do your thing. You've still got to go out there in society and make yourself, productive, and live and provide for yourself, and do the normal things that maybe you'd call normal, right? And not get, I don't know. Do you think that sometimes some people may get too lost in wanting to not be productive or be here, and just get so focused in these subjects that they've lost a part of them that they've that could have been more helpful than getting stuck in some of this mind noise sometimes. I mean, I don't know if I'm making sense what I'm saying.
that all depends on what frequency they're at. If they're in a depression mode, then they're apt to get angry, would be the next level, and rebellious, and like how people are like storming the streets and protest. You know, I don't know how we're going to do this, but yes, a lot of us who have woken up and raised our vibrations enough to get to the next level, but then there's others who haven't, and the majority need that force, need that push. And it's happening right now. And I don't know if it's up to us to, it's to go with it or how we're doing it. But does this pandemic, what I'm trying to say, does this pandemic have anything to do with it? Does these vaccines and all this that's happening now, for some reason, the earth has raised her vibration and the frequency that we're going at accelerated speeds. We're in the photonic belt right now, we're experiencing. And what my concern here is for those who haven't woken up yet, and they're just going along with it, are they going to be enslaved? Is there going to be a split of the worlds where half of them will be enslaved and the other half will be like, oh, we're just putting up with them and they're somewhere in the fringes?
I don't see it like that. Do you know that? Yeah, I don't. What do I see it like? I
How do
just
you see it?
yeah. What do I see it like? I just see it as business as normal. Um, yeah. I mean, eventually, I guess if those that have not had the vaccine want to travel, and they can't because they haven't had the vaccine, so they're gonna not be able to do things that others will be able to do. But there's not many things they won't be able to do. Hopefully, this thing will come to. It is actually the numbers have come right down, and we're gonna get out the other side of this episode of history that we're in right now. And I think it's been a wake up call for so many people, who were just living miserable lives, or are so unhappy with where they were in their career or in their relationships and stuff. I think it's been such a shake up for so many people, and unfortunately, so many people have lost their lives, within the pandemic. I mean, that's very sad. And I do believe that no one crosses over unless it's their time. I tend to believe that I don't that everything happens when it's meant to happen, regardless of a pandemic or not. and it's been a change for so many people to go within. Especially, like I say, if you've lost someone, there's nothing more painful than that, for people to experience the grief of the loss. And if they've never considered where they, that they continue, does life continue afterwards? I'm sure for some it's forced them to think that way. Yeah, it's the world's changed, hasn't it? In a sense, business has changed, and lots of things have changed. But I think it's going to be for the positive in the end. I absolutely do feel that. But if this is a shift in change that was predicted many years ago, then maybe we're only at the very beginning stage of that change, and maybe we were only witnessing the very beginning part of a bigger change, and maybe the larger part will be a bit painful, a bit bumpy, but maybe this is a shift that we need. And I think that was the emphasis for sort of setting up the spiritual news side of things in a couple of years, was that we are going to go through a big shift, much more than what we've seen right now. Maybe it will look a different way from what we're experiencing right now, but there is a shift to come, and you've not seen nothing yet, I don't think.
They're like, this is what you're feeling, right? It's not what you're thinking. You're insightful that I'm getting at, that you're tapping into. But is there something, this split again, that I'm going to refer to between spirituality and religion? And this is what the half of the world is still going to be with religious indoctrinations, and the other half on spiritual self-expression.
Why not? Why not? I mean, look, if there's souls that want to experience that religion, why would we want to stop that? If there's souls that want to experience all these other sort of facets that we come here to experience, why would you want a world that's just all enlightened and all singing the same song? How can any souls come here to have the experience that they so desire for, if we want to take it away and have the world that we want as this amazing mecca of heaven, manifested in this reality? I don't think it's about that. I think it's the sex, drugs, rock and roll, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Do you know what I mean? It's it's everything that this world is capable of producing with us human beings in there. And I think it's what the souls want, to have to experience. Where else are they going to do that? I mean, but I guess change will happen, and we will shift. But that shift that you're on about is maybe many centuries away, and that's okay as well. Who's to say you don't want to come back in the next life and come into be a part of a Muslim family? You may do, and if it's not here, how are you going to do that?
Right.
You might not want to go to another planet. You might want to come back to planet Earth, because the majority of your soul group are here.
Yeah, but what we're facing now is a non-organic versus organic. Crystalline versus carbon, and what we're going through with the graphene oxide that's trying to keep us down in the carbon form atom, and on a molecular level.
But that's all on that's yeah. But what about from the spiritual perspective? The spiritual perspective wouldn't care two toots about that. We care because we think it's important, but from a soul perspective, I don't think it would even. That's a human, that's having a human life kind of problem. Do you know what I mean? Maybe when we cross over, these things, that we think matter so much, actually are all just part of the bigger picture of having a human experience. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying.
I think it's all good. Because it's like what we're using now. They're like crutches, but eventually you get to a certain level. Where we're biological systems, that we can actually do this on a fifth dimensional level, not on a higher force. You see, this is, I believe, in the ethereal, in the fourth density, fourth dimensional, that the splitting occurs. The Wi-Fi, internet, biological, synthetic, and I mean, it's all good. They're tools. But I mean, when do we stop and draw the line between I'm not the tool, I'm not a tool in that tool kind of thing, but I'm the creator, not the victim? Where do you draw the line there, you see?
Maybe there's not much of a line to draw, but just experience to have. Maybe it's just an experience.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I just
I mean, when you cross back
yeah.
over, are you going to be bothered? I don't think so.
I have no idea about that because I in and out of worlds.
I mean, I
I
wouldn't. I'd be bothered. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be bothered that people are suffering, but from that larger perspective of knowing that I chose it and that it's just this virtual reality kind of experience that I got to have, and there's someone just behind me that's so more desperate than me to want to be there, and you say I want to do this other level. I want to be at this other level. Well, there's someone else that's just behind you that's going to be taking your place at be at the level that you were at because they want that experience. You know, water parks and and amusements are fun, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? There's so much fun to have here that that you can't have. Not knowing who you truly are and the forget me not of knowing that you're a soul is probably the greatest gift that we could have ever given ourselves to have this human experience. Yet a lot of us, including myself, have not wanted to be here sometimes because it's so goddamn painful. But I'm more wanting to. Well, I do want to be. I don't want to go anywhere else right now. I'm happy being here and having this life, right? And I think that's yes, it's all very fun and nice to talk about where we're going to go to, but we still got to get on with this one. A lot of spiritual people just want to escape the experience.
Oh yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah, I truly believe this, and they call us channelers. This is something I don't know if it was the same thing that I've seen docu-series in 2012, but
No.
I don't know. There's some kind of timeline. I don't know. Mandela effect or something, because I remember seeing this kind of docu-series in 2012. Now I don't know if it's the same
Oh,
thing
I
I'm
think
talking about.
there was another documentary that inspired They Call Us Channelers. It was called Tuning In. Tuning In.
And it was Daryl Anka
Yep. Yep.
who had
It 7 was it? There was a number of the channelers in this documentary. It was one documentary.
right.
Yeah, Tuning In, that was called.
Oh, okay, because I thought, well, this was 2017, but I remember seeing the other one in
Yeah, it
2012.
was
So
a
it was
great
something.
documentary. Tuning In it was really well done.
Was that a Daryl Anka production?
No,
Is that
no,
what it
no,
was?
no, no, no.
Oh,
Two film guys that got together that did that documentary. Yeah.
okay. And when you created Sky Channel 201, uh, are you still with Wayne Isaac and the more show that you started up with?
Yeah,
You partnered up.
I didn't create Sky Channel 201. Sky Channel 201 is a channel on Sky, and the channel allowed me to broadcast my show on there. Okay, and now Wayne Isaac was one of the guests that came on that show. It was called The More Show, Alternative Late Night Talk. Actually, and Wayne was a guest on there. Actually, I'm changing my show name back. I have been the Kevin Moore Show for a while, and I'm just rebranding myself back to The More Show, because that's what I should have. That's what I am really, and I'm going back to that name. So I've just been building a new website, themoreshow.com. That's taken ages to build that site, and I'm about to rebrand my whole of my YouTube channel. So yeah, there's a lot of work. God, I've got so much work to do on my YouTube channel. Oh my God, because I'm taking all my back catalog content, and I don't know how many shows people have interviewed. I actually don't, but I've downloaded it all, and I'm going to start releasing shorts, um, um, shorts, clips, and TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Basically taking all my past content and repurposing it on other platforms and chopping it up as well. So that's all these little things take so much time. Do you know what I mean? They just suck my time away. I've had no time for anything recently except for doing a lot of stuff in the background that no one knows I'm doing. So including the preparation work to get my next docu-series back up and running, which is this true
Oh
crime
wow.
docu-series, which is
Oh
the
yes.
which is it's called Captain Mark. So basically, Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, there's a lady called Kerry Cassidy. She runs the Project Camelot. She's interviewed Mark Richards from California prison for about 12 times. He's in for life for the masterminding the murder of his friend Richard Baldwin in 1982, and she's been interviewing him because she promotes him as being Captain Mark Richards of the Secret Space Program, and this is the docu-series looking into discernment. And just because someone with a large platform tells us that this person's who they are, what if they've not done their homework, and what if everyone's lying to us about the whole thing? So it's a bit of it is a discernment. It's going to be a discernment documentary, and it's also looking into other people that have been put on platforms like Project Camelot who were not who they said they were neither. So Mark Richards is not a captain. He never was. He never attended any military school. He never went to the army. It's all just complete lies. He did participate in the murder of his friend Richard Baldwin in 1982, because I've interviewed not only people that knew him back in the day, but not only the cops that arrested him, but just so many people involved in the case. And even the guy called Crossin Hoover, who was the young kid at the time, one of the young children, one of the young teenagers, not children, young teenagers, who was 17 at the time, who Mark Richards brainwashed to join his cult. And then not only to join his cult, but to do the murder of his friend for him, which he did. And he has only regretted for 38 years, as he's been, not only has Mark been in prison for 38 years, but Crossin Hoover's also been in prison for 38 years for the deed of taking someone's life that he did back in 1982. And this is the story of everyone's stories on this docu-series, but especially Crossin Hoover, which I interviewed over a number of months from prison to get his full testimony. And when I presented some of the evidence to Kerry Cassidy, she just told me I was working for the deep state, and that I was or MI5, and that I was corrupted, and that and she got this person that worked for her. I was going to use a different name then, but this person that worked for her to do a false narrative on my past and stuff, which is fine. Yeah. So this is
Operation Paperclip.
yeah. So, what this showed me was not only do you have a crazy, not only do you have a cult following with some of these people that are out there in the super soldier programs or secret space programs, but you cannot show the truth to these people because they don't want to hear it because they've made their mind up. Of course, and just because someone's got a large following, it's amazing how people just follow someone and they don't do their own homework sometimes. Not that they should always do the homework, because I guess they rely on these people to have done some discernment checks. Do you know what I mean? But I feel that if you're going to give someone a platform again and again and again and again, you better have checked them out that they're actually telling you the truth, or are they misleading you? And yeah, it's just crazy. Like just how many people are, just in our field that allow people to just spout these stories out and don't do any checks. So it's been a big lesson for me, just even doing the docu-series. I should mention as well that when this docu-series comes out, obviously, the Kerry and Mark's wife have obviously threatened me that they're going to be releasing their information that they've got on me, and they think I'm this big, pornographic influencer based in Amsterdam, which is kind of cool. But I like I've always tried to say to them that if I did own a sex shop in Amsterdam, I don't think I would have been struggling for money for as long as I have done, and I think things would have been very, very different financially. So, I've got no problems with porn if that's what people do. But no, I do not have a sex shop in Amsterdam. There was a time when, I had looked into that field, most definitely, but nothing came of it. We've all got a past. We've all got things that we've done. And it's amazing when people's backs are against the wall, how they do that, that old school stuff of just finding any shit just to dox you basically on stuff that's not true, and they don't even have the decency to come to you and say, hey, just before we put this out, can we just get your take on it? And I would have said, no, that's true. That's not true. Yeah, that's kind of true. That is, but no, all that other stuff you got there is absolute tosh. But I guess because I'm going against her, now, and this docuseries will show who she really is. I guess I get it. Why not come for me as well? So bring it on, is what I say.
Well, you see, there's two types of people in this situation. Is those who like to bring others down so that they can feel higher and more elated and better about themselves, and others who want to bring the best version of everyone forward in their best
Well,
light.
I didn't do that in this case. I mean, I've been calling people this name, that name in this case, and everything else. But I'm trying to control myself right now, not come from that space. When you know the truth, if this didn't involve a murder, where they're making money from someone that was murdered, to basically class him as this guy that was murdered, Richard Baldwin, to class him as a paedophile, so he was a piece of shit, so he doesn't matter. But actually, the real truth is Mark is a secret space program whistleblower, and that's what really matters. When he's not, he's a mentally ill individual, right? That's been in prison for 38 years. Can't even admit that he was there the day when he took his friend's life, along with Crossing Hoover. Crossing Hoover was the one that put the knives, the knife, screwdriver, bat, and everything else into that man's body. That slowly took that soul out of that body. But he was 6 feet across from Crossing Hoover as the murder was taking place, and he's saying, kill him. He can't.
Wow, you're taking this awareness, this consciousness of light into another direction,
Absolutely.
man.
Well, I mean, Joanne Richards, the wife of Captain Mark Richards, who married him in prison because that's fine. You can marry someone in prison, not a problem. But obviously, there's restrictions that go along with that. But probably restrictions that deep down her soul wanted. She's just released a new book actually, which is Midlife Magic. That's Joanne's new book. And Joanne, I've got to say, I've been making highlights we've been making highlights in certain chapters, and we've been highlighting the book as well. And so many highlights of all the mistakes in the book that you've made, and I'm grateful as well, Joanne, of you mentioning me in a lot of the pages as well. As that's
not really a book. That's like a pamphlet. It's
well, this is her book on her 7 marriages and her her journey to marrying Mark, and it's full of absolute lies. And Joanne, you should be ashamed of yourself for what you've put in this book. And I've got to thank you as well for you publishing the book, because it's going to make the docuseries even stronger. You thought that this docuseries was not going to happen. Wrong. That's all I'll say. Absolutely, it's going forward. And I went through so much personally when I went through my breakup. That was also bits to do with having done this. With every. Well, it was, my breakup was on many levels, but for my breakup, I want to see this docuseries through for many reasons, many personal reasons, and many professional reasons. So this is something I'm destined to do, and I hope the soul of Richard Baldwin, the guy that was murdered by Mark and Crossy, I hope that he gets something from this as well, which I'm sure he will do. I'm sure it's the closure that his soul has been waiting for. And I'm pleased to give it to him on that soul level. Unless his soul's already had that closure. And I think he's been working with us. I do. Yeah, I do. What's it showing me doing this docuseries again? What's it showing me? I'm asking myself questions now, but what's it showing me?
Dark night of the soul you're going through here.
No, it's not. No, that is wrong. No, this is the positive night of the soul. There's no dark night of the soul with this. It's a positive night of the soul. It may look like a dark night. It's a beautiful night of the soul. It's the soul reawakening to knowing that, just knowing discernment. That's what it's taught me. Be more careful. Be careful.
Wow.
Be careful what you believe in.
How many years were you in this relationship called committed marriage?
Marriage? Oh, we're going there, are we? Not long enough. My marriage lasted from July 2019 until I got my divorce in April last year. But I left my wife in November of last year. November of 2020.
So it was like a very intense relationship?
Oh, absolutely it was. Yeah, absolutely it was. Very
Very
intense.
colorful?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I can't say I've not learned a lot from, um, and will continue to learn from that relationship. To be honest with you, I will continue to learn from that relationship, of what, and for us both, I guess, of what we'll accept and what we won't accept, and you know, yeah, I mean, look, it was a emotionally abusive and physically abusive relationship. We triggered each other all the time. Um, there were so many things that I can look back and say I wish I'd done different, but I can't change them. I think when you're with someone that sets you off, that pushes your buttons to the maximum, you can also become your worst self. And throughout that relationship, I was nothing but my worst self a lot of the time. And I had no choice but to leave. I mean, I was accused by the family of being a runner, or by one member. But if I had not had left for the third time, and I believe it was the third time, and because it was mentally abusive, it was physically abusive, like I said, and it was just a terrible goddamn relationship. But I know we both learned from it, and I know we were both supposed to have that experience, and I've never experienced anything like it before, and I never want to experience anything like it again. I do not wish, and I'm sure nor does she, to ever have that again. And she'll say and blame it all on me, and that's fine. That's fine. But there is a truth, and I've got my version.
Have you gone through the reconciliation process? Have you been able to maintain a somewhat level of a friendship, or is it
I
just
think
cut?
you're probably referring to an alternative reality, because not in this reality.
Oh, not ready yet.
Not ready, never ready.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Oh wow!
that will never happen ever. We
The
would.
splitting of the worlds, right?
Yeah, yeah, you could say that. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I mean, I've had past relationships where I can, speak to my past partners, and I've always appreciated to be able to do that. I've always tried to have it that way. But this was different. This was different, and when you don't go through, you don't normally go through this process where you get married to someone and you don't go, and you leave them after such a short time. It's not normal. It's because the relationship was not normal. And could I have done things better? Absolutely. I could have walked away many times. But when you're in it, and it's so crazy and it's so intense. None of the people that I interviewed, nothing that I had nothing helped.
So you had irreconcilable differences.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Yeah, that's the nicest way of putting it. Yes, that's what it might. That's what might it might be. That's what it might say on the divorce certificate. Yeah, that's the legal term for it.
So I just want to go quickly back to, I keep thinking about it, when your family and you, how old were you when you saw that UFO sighting? And can you recall maybe what kind of, was there any kind of alien contact, or, like these people say, the Greys, were they reptilian? Were they Dracos? Were they of the Orion? I don't know. Can you kind of, I know because you're a channeler, that have you maybe channeled into that at all?
No, but had a regression that took me back there, and the regression, I was on board the craft, and there were these tiny beings around me. I was on a table, naked, and then there were these much taller, like huge head beings. Oh, I think they had big heads, but they were tall. They were tall, with almost like a gown on, like a cloak on, and yeah, they were saying to me, well, we're going to observe you for the rest of your life, and there's a connection with your mother's lineage, with, and that we're going to observe you, and there was some away from that regression stuff. There was some really weird shit that happened that night, that happened that day. I mean, it was a true, to me it was a true sighting. It was a real time, real visual sighting of this craft, and it was so real that I can't even understand what I saw. Makes no sense what I saw, because it's not something you see. I saw it that one time in my life. I've never seen it again. I've never seen it before, but there was one craft that was just hovering there in the background, and it was like, it's like time had stood still, and then later on that night there was all these. I just remember bits of it. It's all broken up memory, and later on I remember being outside the house, and there was all these plethitude of bloody small lights in the sky, so far up, but they were moving, and it wasn't dark, it was still light. There was loads of them traveling across, and it was, and when you're a kid, you don't think, well, of like, is anyone else seeing this? Where's the camera? I wasn't thinking of that stuff. I was like, wow, look at that, that's cool. Do you know what I mean? Whatever that is, right? And then later on at night, I remember we was all in my bedroom at the time, and we'd all my family was in my bedroom. The lights were off. We was all looking outside the window, and there was this cigar shaped craft that just came by, and then it seemed to disappear into space. It seemed to disappear into reality. It was like it was passing through something, and it went through it. It doesn't make any sense what I'm saying, and I don't know if that was what I saw. But I know this much: when it was going past, there was all these weird writings on it, and it wasn't letters. It was something else. I don't know what type of language it was. It wasn't, and it was there was no noise, and it was round. And I can't, but I don't know much more than that. So. This is the same day, but then as it's sort of like fragmented memories of like from light to dark. So and I've always speak to my father about it, not too long ago, and he's like, I don't want to talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it, but I can't talk about it because I don't feel like I should be talking about it. I was like, but you're going to die with your music, and never discussing it. He's like, well, I don't feel like I should be talking about it. I was like, I wonder what's blocking you from wanting to even say, wanting to talk about it, and why you're even saying that. Do you understand what you're saying? He's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to talk about it. I don't know. And my dad's very logical, right? And spiritual. And the next day, my sister drew a drawing of what she remembers seeing, and we was all kids at the time. And just recently, my brother sent me a picture of his daughter holding the picture because she's only little, and I was like, how the hell's my niece got that picture? Because it was all the decades ago of my sister drawing it. And they must have dug it out together at some point because I've not been back to the UK for many years since I got married, because I've not been able to, but we all keep in contact. But yeah, and I was like, wow, that's fascinating. There's that drawing, and I don't think my niece understood what she was holding, but she's too young. But yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't know what any of that means, or if my influence of doing this talk show was through watching Art Bell, listening back to Art Bell. You can't get Art Bell in the UK back in the day, but online, that Coast to Coast used to let people have memberships internationally as well. So that's how I think maybe it was on YouTube at the time. I can't remember. Yeah, Then I used to listen to a lot of Alex Jones. I look at Alex Jones now. I just think, wow, great set. I'm looking at the the technical side of it rather than the content. You know what I mean? Just like of how it what it outputs and transmits, and just wondering how is he doing that? What playout server is he using? How's he getting those graphics on the screen? What hardware has he got? So, because that's the thing, right? As for setting up my own network that I'm going to do, I've got a bit of background in TV production, television, so I know how to build aspects of a TV studio, from vision mixing to on-screen graphics to playout servers to lighting to green screening to bringing in multiple guests on the technology behind it. I think that's what excites me a little bit as well, is not just the business but obviously building the technology side of it. When I do start building that'll be a lot of fun to be involved with that as well, to get the latest, have a I mean I see it as in one day as having a warehouse somewhere, and in that warehouse, just thinking of it like a furniture shop, where you walk around the furniture shop and you've got multiple little sets that they've made, with different like layouts of like what this furniture could look like in your home room. And I see those furniture shops sometimes. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be my warehouse one day, where we can shoot different shows, have everything set up. Do you know what I mean? And it's a place where people can come in and film, and yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It looks like we're scratching the surface of you, Kevin, and everything you're envisioning. And I would love to have another chat with you again sometime soon, or, because I feel like I haven't really gone deep enough in all those various areas that I really
Well,
want
there's
to
only
talk
so much people
about.
want of Kevin Moore. There's only so much I want. So, yeah, look, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm like I say. I think I'm coming from this game of people that you'll interview from a bit of a different perspective, much more of a business side, because I've realized that's what I really enjoy, actually. Right, as time's gone on just recently, and more of building something, and changing of the guard a little bit in the kind of content that can be seen to be spiritual as well. Um, yeah, yeah. But
So
my
what is
first,
do you see a difference between a channeler and a psychic? Is there like a difference there, or can you explain what?
well, the only difference I know is that the channelers, I think, well, all right, well, actually, most times, well, maybe old times, that maybe some channelers were not psychic. They were more, just able to either connect with something, some other sort of, soul essence, some other consciousness, and then bring that through their body, and then people would communicate to that channeler, through that consciousness that's connecting with that person. But I think nowadays, the definitely the psychic aspect and the mediumistic aspect are much more aligned with the channeling. You see more people with both, or all, right? And obviously, when it comes to the medium side, it's validation. It's they're tuning into on the path that you're on right now. If you stick on this path, here's what I feel is going to happen for you. This is where I see what's going to happen. Or they're communicating with mediums or guides to bring in information for you. Where I think, obviously channeling is a bit more about teaching information. It's a bit more of about, the growth of the soul. Do you know what I mean? Rather than, who you're going to end up in bed with next. Do you know what I mean? Or who you resonate with more next.
Channeling, I see it too, that a lot of the priests, even Orthodox priests, depending,
Everyone's channeling. It's what we all.
you know,
Yeah.
when they do a ceremony, for example, and they're doing a memorial, and they want to connect with that person that's passed on, and they're doing a service for everybody, like a graveside service or what have you. And so the people who have gathered are channeling from a different spiritual perspective, that they can hone in, like a radio station, right? Let's say Orthodox. Okay, so they use that modality to connect with that person who was very religious from that spiritual perspective. And that's one form of channeling. people who do ceremonies, for example, and they could use religion, and depending on who's see, channeling can be a whole group of people who come together too, right?
When you open that greater part of yourself up, when you allow for that greater part of you, your soul, to come through, right? You are channeling. Then you're channeling that greater part of you. And we've all got access to that greater part. All of us can access that greater part. If you want to call that greater part your higher self or your soul, whatever, that's fine. It's that more wiser, loving, deeper, compassionate part of yourself that the trueness of yourself, minus this earthly experience, minus all this stuff which we think's real here. It's the real true nature of who you are that you're allowing through. Yeah, and without the props, like of the human suit on, or if I'm making sense, yeah, it's to allow that greater part of you through. And I think maybe even the psychic mediums are channeling in a sense because they're allowing that greater part of yourself through. I know that the old times would tell us that that channeling is the discarnate entity coming through and then speaking through. Yes, but there's a lot more conscious channelers out there right now. And I think it's evolving. I think it's evolving, or I think our understanding of it is becoming greater. Maybe that's what it is. Our understanding of what what we
So
could.
you don't really have to use a middleman like Christ or Samantha or whoever it is.
What about yourself? What about being your own Christ or Ramtha?
Right?
Right.
Exactly. Right.
That's what I want to teach. That's what I want the channeling docu-series to show as well. I hope it does.
Yeah, well, see, this is I think the channeler is also the psychic, the spiritual aspect of it, where they can actually connect to everything and all things.
But most people don't want to go down that road because it means like, oh, I've got to do the work myself to like try to listen to this part. People don't want to do it. It's like house cleaning. Yeah, I'll get someone else to do it. So let's just call that. Let's go see that medium. There's all great things about seeing a medium. I mean, I'm building a goddamn website that's going to be promoting mediums, right? Okay, there's good things in that, right? I go see a medium. I do, very very rarely, but I do per year, at least once a year, at least, right? So I'm not selling anything that I don't do myself. But yeah, I think what we're trying to say is that don't forget your own power. That wiser part of yourself is always within you, and it will speak to you. It'll be your voice, or you can choose it to be someone else's voice. You've got the choice of that, and just ask, and the answer will come.
Exactly, and I guess we're gonna have to close this up because I think we might have gone over an hour here. I mean, we can go as long as we want. It's just that people might just drop out, and
I'm done. I think you're done.
Yeah, we can do this again. I would love to have another chat with you again sometime, and I don't know whatever platform you'd like to do it in. So is there, in closing, anything you would like to leave us here with today?
I always ask that question, don't I? And when it's asked to me, it's like, well, what would I say? Live in purpose. Live in purpose, and do what you enjoy doing, or try to do it part-time. Try to fit at some point in your day, try to fit something in that you really do enjoy doing, and then build on top of that. That loving what you're doing is the true purpose of what you're here for most times. Or not what you're here for, it's where you are right now. It's the pull that you should be doing more of right now. Don't forget that. That'll be my message.
So for more information on how to access your greatest potential, and visit Kevin's channeling website on www.channeling.com, and make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/The Kevin Moore Show, and the Kevin Moore Podcast Show, www.thekevinmooreshow.com, and Kevin's many other social media platforms, such as Instagram, www.instagram.com/The Kevin Moore Show, HTTPS, Twitter.com, Kevin Moore Show. Just look it up. He's also on Facebook and LinkedIn, and all this information on whatever platform you might be on will be down below the information or up above, however it goes, in the written description box. And, it was such an honor and such a pleasure to share this moment with you, Kevin.
Yes, and thank you very, very much as well. I don't do many interviews. I don't, and I said yes to you, and I'm glad I did. So thank you for your time as well. I appreciate that.